It's so lovely to be here. I felt a calling for such a long time to be in a place to speak to a wide variety of women, but really in a wide variety of people. And I've had this thought in my brain kind of hovering there since I was a little girl. And I remember when I was about 4 or 5 being in my room, waking up and tiptoeing to my toy chest and putting my blanket on my shoulders as if it was a cape and I was a queen or a princess and standing on my toy chest and talking. And who was I talking to? I was talking to all the angels and all the guides that surrounded me in my room, in my dreams, and were there for me in my room. And I've never really thought anything of it. I just figured this is what everyone does. Except the thing was, as I got older, I started to notice that nobody was really talking about this. Nobody was really communicating about having angels or having guides coming into their dreams, coming into their room. Nobody was talking about it. And so I became very quiet. And although I knew certain things more than what other people my age might have known, I hushed myself because I felt that this wasn't a conversation for everyone. This wasn't a topic that was readily accepted by everyone. And so what I did was I tucked it away. But as I got older and older, that voice within me started to come up. And when I allowed it to speak, I didn't get a lot of praise. I got, to be quiet. I got to be still. I got to be information about being unseen. And so I started to trust the voices outside of myself more than the voice within me. I started to believe in what people were looking at me and approving and disproving as being the way that I needed to guide my life. And this was the way it was for a really long time in my life. And I always felt like I was sharing part of myself. I wasn't really me, but it was the way that it seemed to be that what everybody wanted from me. And I wanted to be the kind of person that my parents were proud of. I wanted to be the kind of person that my teachers were proud of. That was what was accepted. So I felt that in my life, I couldn't really be all of who I was. And so I went to college and the voice kept on coming up. And I allowed it to come up from time to speak to me about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to think. And one day I was in a class and I was taking a class, in college, one of those general classes, what do you want to do classes. And there was this woman standing in front of the class and she was standing there going like this and saying, can you imagine being trapped in a world in your mind, not being able to speak what your thoughts were? And right then, in the middle of the class, sitting in a seminar room with hundreds of people, I got a voice. And the voice said, no voice is too small to be heard. And it shook me. And I said, oh my God, no voice is too small to be heard. And so I became a speech pathologist. And I still am one. And I've been one for more than 35 years. And I worked with families and children to allow them to have the words to speak the thoughts of what they wanted to communicate, what they wanted to think, and allowed them the communication that they needed with their families to be able to share their voice. And I thought I figured it out. I thought I found it. And the funny thing was, all along, I knew there was more. And when I started to think about the time when my son was born, and I remember it was a very cold winter, it was in 1988, and it was really frigid, and I couldn't take him out because he was so little. And I finally, after like 6 weeks, they said, you can go out. So I took them out. I bundled them up in the carriage. I had no idea how to collapse the stroller or put it back together. I didn't know what I was doing, but I went out. And that was an accomplishment. And I'm in the car and I'm driving to my destination. And really all I wanted to do was push the carriage down the street. I didn't even have anything I wanted to do. And I get there and I turn around, this big accomplishment, and he's sleeping. And I'm like, oh my God, now I can't even get out of the car. Now I'm stuck again inside the car. And I just started weeping, figuring like, I can't even do this right. And at that moment, what I did was I started speaking to my mother. So you see, my mother died when I was 3. And before she died, right before, on the precipice of her death, she came to me in my room and she kissed me on my cheek. And she said to me, your father's going to say goodbye to me. And you're going to know I've already left. So I'm saying goodbye to you now, my love. I'm saying goodbye to you now. And she did. And in that car, in that moment, all I wanted was a connection to her. And I had tried in the years before to connect to her by hypnosis and self-hypnosis and all these things that I did. But in that moment, in that car, she came to me and she said to me that the love I feel for you from the moment you were conceived is a love that I carry in my heart, that I give to you to always hold. And that love allows you to connect to me and to trust what you hear, to trust yourself, to trust that the love that you give your child is all, and believe that you are the best that you can be. And so I stashed that thought away. I stashed it, didn't know what to do with it really. And the days that followed, I tried to connect again, couldn't really connect again. I didn't know how to connect again. I thought I had to do something special. I even went back to that same parking spot thinking that that was the answer. And I didn't really know. I didn't really know what to do, who to seek, who to speak to. And when I started to think about it going forward, when I started to think about my speech pathology career and creating all those voices from all those children, I realized that what I was really seeking in all those years of being a speech therapist was I was seeking my own voice and didn't know how to reach it, and always had a sense that I was intuitive, always had a sense that I was spiritual. But the thing was that my definition of what intuitive, I didn't even know about that word. I only knew about the word psychic. And in my mind, psychic meant you were speaking to people who had passed on or people who were predicting the future. It wasn't really who I was. And didn't really know where I fit in. And along the way, one day I met a woman, a mentor of mine. She's now a mentor of mine for the past 5 years, who basically just told me it's all within inside of me. But the thing that I needed to figure out was I needed to understand my own value. I needed to understand, to trust my own instinct, my own voice, my own voice. And so the voice that was not too small to be heard was my voice, that whisper, the whisper that we all get, and we ignore it. And we look outside of ourselves for validation and for acceptance and for steering ourselves in the right direction, when what we really should be doing is looking within. I have a question for all of you, because I know there are doubters out there saying, my intuition isn't so primed like yours, Robin. And I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite flavor ice cream? And I know you know the answer. It's coming to you right now. How do you know that that's your favorite flavor? Who told you? Did you read it in a book? Did your mother say, this is your favorite flavor? Nope. You just know. You just know it. And every time you eat that favorite flavor ice cream, it's another acknowledgement that, yep, that's the one. Like you could have many flavors, but this is the one for me. Same thing goes with dessert or food or a favorite place that you like to visit. How do you know that that's your favorite place? You just know it. You feel it deep within you. That deep connection within you, that little sparkle, that's your intuition. And so in the workshop that I'm going to be doing on the 16th, I'm going to be doing a workshop on how do you connect to that space, to that intuition, to allow the stories that don't serve us, that block our own intuitive prowess, and allow ourselves to really hear our own intuition. Is it that simple? What if I told you it was? What if I told you that it was about choice? What if I told you that all you had to do was value and trust your own voice? And I have another example. How many of us in this room have ever been in an emergency? You know, a situation that really was duress, and you had to make an instantaneous decision. How many of those decisions were incorrect? I would probably tell you 0, because when you don't have the time to think, when you don't have the time to second guess, your intuition rules and always will steer you in the right direction. And people will say, okay, well, that's an emergency situation. You're talking about ice cream and emergencies. That's not everyday life. How do I know what to do in my life for my business? How do I know what to do in my life for my love relationships? How do I know what to do in my life with my children who are making me crazy? How do I know what to do in my life so I'm not in constant conflict? And what I want to tell you is the first answer always, always, is to have love and compassion first for yourself. If I could say nothing else to you, I want to employ that. When we believe that we have value and worth for just being, simply being right where you are right now, as having value, as having importance, we emanate light frequency from ourselves that elevate our frequency to a place where we exude love. And then what we attract back is the same. We attract back love. We attract back connection. We attract back trust. When we exude out judgment, hatred, bigotry, judgment, we'll get back the same. So when you look into the eyes of yourself in the mirror, look at them with love and compassion. Look at yourself as though you want somebody else to look at you. You know, the same eyes that you seek in others to look at you for acknowledgement about what you're doing is being great, is being wonderful, is being terrific. Look at those eyes from within you and know that that acknowledgement doesn't get better than that. I'm sharing on the chat right now a place for you to go to take a quiz that I created to figure out what your intuitive prowess is. And if you do the quiz, you get to have a one-on-one intuitive session with me that I guarantee will knock your socks off, because the universe is there for us always. And it has your back. And the truth is that the voice that you carry within yourself is the voice that we should always be listening to. I'm not sure where I am on time. My timer didn't keep going. Am I up?
You have 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, I also wanted to tell you that if anybody is interested in spirituality or in tarot, intuitive tarot specifically, I also have an intuitive tarot group where I talk about tarot and spirituality It's a Facebook group, and I'll put the link for that in there also. And I love anybody in there to join who's interested and is curious, because I wish that I would have had that kind of a group when I was younger, and that was available to me. And I welcome you all, and it's been my pleasure.